Hi there, welcome back. My name is Brittany Verlenich. I'm so glad you're here. I'm a content strategist, social media manager, total marketing nerd, and I'm a creator myself. And I'm really excited to talk about all the topics related to the game of content creation and the whole world that encapsulates it. Now, first, I want to make a distinction between the Teacher Creator podcast and my other shows and projects. You'll probably already know that I'm in the TPT seller, teacherpreneur world. For a really long time, I struggled to know where I was able to best fit in this world because even when I was in the classroom, I never really identified fully with the idea of being a teacherpreneur. In fact, my first business, or one of them anyway, actually, if I were to go all the way back, I was selling on eBay and flipping things before that was even as popular as it is now. Now there are a million different platforms just for flipping clothes, but that is what I did. I was one of the early people to flip clothes on eBay, and I made really good money from that. It paid my rent while I was in college. That was like my first taste and foray into the online business world. And even back then, I was always bullish on the internet. I knew it was going to be big. I just didn't know exactly how it was going to look yet. And I can never say that I know exactly how it's going to look forever because that is one of the most exciting things, and maybe for some frustrating things about this industry, is that it is always fluid and changing. So I struggled to know where I was going to fit. And then when I started offering services to sellers, I started freelancing in late 2021 going into 2022. I can't believe that it's been so much time since then already. I feel like I've learned so much. I already had some skills from blogging myself since 2017. I've launched multiple podcasts. I'm very comfortable with the tech on the back end and the content strategy on the front end. I have both hats, so to speak. So it was a natural fit to offer those services because in my own first month of being on Teachers Pay Teachers, I made about $400. I've told a story, so if you've heard it before, no worries. And while $400 isn't a million or anything crazy like that, the reason that story is worth telling is because I had a very different strategy and approach to list building, to audience growth, and even to SEO from the very beginning. Yes, I knew search engine optimization because I came from the blogging world. So even though I was new to the platform of Teachers Pay Teachers, I generally understood how listings work. And also because eBay, even back then, before I really knew what SEO was, I was using it because I figured out which titles, which descriptions, which images worked best. And if you actually look at the funnel of when people make a buying decision on a TPT listing, it is very similar to basically every other marketplace, which also includes Amazon, Etsy, and dozens of others. So all of that to say, I knew I was going to be in this space. I was invested in teachers. I had a teacher travel company. I still do that. I host trips and show them how to travel better and apply to travel grants and all this other fun stuff. But I knew I also had tech skills. And in 2020, instantly, overnight, everybody was moving online. And I was using Google Classroom. I was co-writing with students in Google Docs. I was doing math in Google Sheets. I was doing all of this stuff before it really became popular and mainstream. So I had a leg up. I made a very cringy but helpful at the time free course about Google Classroom, which people might still have it. It's out in the ether today. I think I had like 300 opt-ins in like 2 weeks, and that really helped me. I also had a couple of videos go viral because back then Facebook Lives were a thing, and I was talking about everything in real time, almost like a news reporter, and breaking down what the laws meant from legal terms to what daily teachers could understand and pay attention to, because they just didn't have the time to pay attention to it all because they were having to learn all these new skills that I already had. So I went from devoting all of my time and energy to travel to, well, we can't travel now. What else can I do and how else can I help? And also now I have this extra time because I already know how to do this stuff. So I actually had more time than probably the average teacher. So I went online and sold my products and resources. And within that first month, I was like, oh, there is definitely something here. And I think I actually have a way to help. But where I think I struggled is I had a different mentality. And for a long time, I felt bad about that. I felt bad that I listed my resources and came in with the business mindset first, instead of the idea of just throwing my resources up and seeing what would happen, which there's nothing wrong with that. If that has been you, I think that's the norm. And then over time, maybe it grows. That was not my experience at all. And the reason also, I should say, is because yes, I knew about SEO from the blogging world because I had been blogging and I knew about eBay listings and things like that. But I also had a community. I had a really engaged and active Facebook group of about 2,000 to 3,000 at the time. And I was in there almost every day. I was going live on Facebook every single week. People really knew me, okay? And they trusted me. And so when the time came and they all couldn't travel anymore, they're like, what should we talk about? So of course we were still talking about where we wanted to go and the kind of travel we necessarily wanted to do, but they also needed these Google resources right away. So that's what I did, right? I created these resources and I had direct access to them. So I said, what do you guys need? Okay, you need this, I'll make this, right? Because it was very easy for me. So that was helpful. I knew exactly what they wanted in their words. I had a beta testing audience. I could say like this, is this what you meant? And they even told me what colors, all those things. Am I saying I did it perfectly? No, not at all. I've made so many mistakes. I still do, but I do have a bias for action. And that is one strength I have, is that I'm like, I'm just going to try it. I'm just going to go in and see. And I think so many times as teachers, the norm is like, they want to get it right. They want it to be perfect. There's like procrastination under the mask of perfectionism because you want it to be right the first time. But I'm just willing to get things wrong as many times as I need to until I get it right. And that doesn't always serve me, but it's done okay for me thus far. And of course, I'm always learning and growing to perfect my craft and improve customer service and streamline operations and all that other good stuff. So that brings us to the Teacher Creator podcast. Why Teacher Creator and why not Teacher Seller? Why not Teacherpreneur? Why not Teacher CEO or something like that? Well, a few reasons. Let's talk about those terms. One, Teacherpreneur, by the way, I think is also trademarked. I'm not 100% sure, but that is reason enough alone for me to stay away from it because I don't want to get in any legal trouble. And I already have a very bold personality. I already have some opinions about the online business space and about TPT and about marketing that maybe don't sit well with some mainstream views. And so I would rather just play it safe with that. Also, I've struggled to resonate with the term Teacherpreneur because even when I was creating content at first for teachers, it wasn't really teachery. It was like, let's help you plan that next break because the classroom can be heavy. Even though I really enjoyed teaching, I had such a good time, and I do create maybe more traditional quote unquote products on TPT now, that wasn't always the case. And if you went into my classroom, you'd be like, wow, it's like summer camp in here. We were still learning, but we were loud, we were up and moving, we were having a good time. And that's also really served me because my students saw growth and I had a really good relationship with them. All that said, the word Teacherpreneur, I've used it because I know that other people are looking for it because other people resonate with it. And to be honest, many of my clients are straight up teacherpreneurs. They're like, I don't want to be a creator. I don't like social media. If I could avoid marketing completely and just sit myself down in a basement and create products and resources for teachers to help them, that's what I would do. I don't really want to be famous. I don't want my face all over everything. I just want to create content and like basically clock out. And I totally understand if that's you. I talk about ways that you can use social media to help you get more site traffic, get more sales, and get more subscribers. So those three things are really what you need to grow a business. And I am just so bullish on social media and the internet now. Am I bullish on any one particular platform? I do have my favorites. However, this is a changing landscape. That is why I called it the Social Media Magic Podcast and not Instagram Magic or not Facebook Magic, because I know these platforms can change. So if you are just interested in using social media and content and marketing in general to drive traffic, to increase conversions and sales, I've got you covered. I get really nerdy and strategic on social media magic. And then let's also talk about another term I have often heard and seen, and it is a variation of teacher CEO. There's of course the CEO teacher program, which I'm sure CEO teacher is trademarked. That's Casey Morris's thing, and there's a whole program and philosophy around that. So I'm not talking about that specifically, but this idea of becoming a CEO, and that idea is really not new. If you've been in the online business world for any amount of time, you would have seen some program teaching you how to be a CEO. The problem I have with CEO is that I don't want to be a CEO. And I'm just being completely honest. Like, I know what my strengths and my gifts are, and I'm sure you do too, even though you've been trying to put yourself into a box for so long. And that one message, this is for everybody, okay? We are all told in the online business space that we have to learn something, master it. And it's kind of what we learn in school, right? When you get this degree, then you can talk about this thing. I don't believe that. I believe that you get to choose how and when and where you show up in the online space, and that the people who are meant to respond to your call, so to speak, to your content, they will come in and they will do what they need to do to get what they need, because we're always thinking about ourselves in our content, right? Like same thing with our customers and our viewers. So with the CEO hat, a CEO is a chief executive officer. There's nothing wrong with that. I used to think that's what I wanted because I wanted time freedom. And of course, like who doesn't want that? I wanted to have more money. And so I just did an if then conditional statement. I said, okay, well, if I want these things, and apparently what I need is to become a CEO. And to become a CEO, I need to basically be a manager. Except I don't like managing, not in the sense of what CEOs truly have to do. And also, I think that term is misused because it is completely different to manage a company with a $2 million revenue budget every year than it is to manage a small business that makes $60,000 a year. Let me give you an example. I used to work for a nonprofit organization that is worldwide. If I said it, you would know what it is. And I worked for one center in a big metro area, and I managed a department with a $2 to $3 million budget. And that was just one department, okay? So I am very well versed in people management, scheduling, grants, managing budgets, working with interns, hiring people, firing people, performance reviews, and all that stuff. I have done that. I've been there. I know how to do that job, and I'm pretty good at it, but it's not where I thrive. And I will never forget one time one of my managers and mentors pulling me aside and asking me, do you want to work with kids or do you want to work with adults? And what she was really asking me was, do you want to be in the fun and creative role and developing the programs? Well, actually, she saw it as facilitating the programs, or do you want to be the one that's managing the people who are facilitating the programs? And I said, neither. I want to be designing the programs, and then I want to find the people to execute them, and then I want to teach them how to do that. But that is very different, by the way, than managing. I've realized that I am good at mentorship. I'm great at masterminding. I'm great at coaching. I'm great at teaching. I'm not so great at managing schedules. And it's not that I can't do it. It's just not the best strength for me. I mean, there are way more organized people than me. Just thinking about organizing something honestly totally brings me down. That's not to say that you shouldn't learn these skills if they're not important. But I finally came to a point where I was like, instead of trying to make myself sound more like a teacherpreneur, instead of trying to sound more professional, why don't I just really lean into who I actually am and what I actually want to help you do? And that is with the Teacher Creator Podcast. These people are not the ones that want to avoid social media. They actually like posting on social media. They like the idea of having a YouTube channel. They like the idea of having a podcast. Is that you? Do you like these things? If that is you, then I would say you're a teacher creator. And I would also say, whether you also have a Teachers Pay Teachers store or not, whether you also have a shop on Etsy, whether you also have a course or a membership or consulting that you offer, you are a teacher and creator. You love to create. And creating isn't limited to the downloadables themselves, products and courses themselves. It's the actual creation that you love. I used to really beat myself up for that. Well, I also like the marketing strategy, and that's really fun to me. But I used to beat myself up that I wanted to have all these different podcasts and all these different websites and things. And everybody kept telling me, you can't do that. You can't do that. You only can do one thing. And anytime someone tells me I can't do something, I say, all right, watch me. And if I prove myself wrong, that's one thing, but I'm not going to let someone else do it. So I realized, no, I'm going to lean into that. I am going to become a teacher creator. And I already did that kind of haphazardly, but I realized like, yeah, actually I have worked with brands. Actually, I have done negotiations with different companies. I have been paid to create content, not just as a freelancer, although technically if you work with brands, you're also a freelancer, but as an influencer. And that word has so many negative connotations. I think the word influencer just carries a lot of weight with it. And maybe that is something we'll still use in the brand somehow. But really, I think creator says it better because I know you want to get paid to create and I can help you do that. And I feel confident about that. And it took me a while to get to the point where I could say I felt confident about that. Another thing that I really wanted to do was take the pressure off of myself. This whole content marketing funnel of you have to know your signature offer and you can't make any content until you also have a strategic freebie. And then once you have that, you have to have your email funnel and then you have to have this and this and this and this. Those are all great things to have, but what do? They keep me from doing the actual thing I want to do, which is create YouTube videos, make podcasts, really good podcasts, actually perfect the craft of speaking. You might have noticed I'm much slower and more deliberate now than I used to be because it's something I'm working on, not perfect, but getting better. I want to become a better writer. I want to be paid for my writing. I am paid for my writing. And I wasn't sure if there was anyone out there in the teacher world who was interested in this. I don't know why, because I've been interested in these things for years before I was a teacher, while I was a teacher. And so I'm leaning into that now. I finally have a place to talk with you all about it. So if you are not interested in being the CEO, maybe you just want to be the creative, and down the road when you are making some more money, you can hire somebody to manage you. Did you know that? You can hire a manager to manage you, to tell you when to turn things in. My sister did this for a while. My sister is a proper influencer. She has about 70,000 followers on Instagram. As of when I'm recording this, she had brand deals as her primary income for the longest time. She worked with a management company so that she didn't have to do any of the pitching or outreach or negotiating herself. So you actually don't have to be a CEO or a manager or do a whole bunch of admin if you don't want to. Now, is it good to do those things and learn how they work so that later, if and when you do hire someone, you know what to look for? Absolutely. Absolutely build your skill set. But if you want to get paid to create, then you really need to be working on your craft and learning the platforms. That should be where the primary bulk of your time goes, not on product creation of downloadable PDFs and not on things like, what is my niche? That will just make you stuck in eternity. It's one of those other sneaky things that keeps you from creating and taking action because you convince yourself, oh, I can't do anything until I figure out my niche. Nonsense. You can start creating right now. And I will also say, on top of the content you create, helping you market other things, right? Because most people have come to me because they want content that they can use for traffic and marketing to grow their business. They have their business first, content is a solution. Instead of it just being that, you actually monetize the content itself. And I would go deeper and farther and say that content creation is one of the biggest journeys you will take in personal development and character development for a number of reasons. I think owning a business is too in general, but content creation especially because you're figuring out who you are, what you want to say, what you actually believe, how it's different from every other person out there, and who needs to hear it most. And I think that when you start with that, when you really build a personal brand, then you can grow a community that follows you wherever you go, no matter what niche you do, no matter what business you decide to have. Maybe if you decide to have a job later, you can leverage the personal brand you've built to get you another opportunity. There's just nothing bad that can come from it except for you learning and growing and having some pretty amazing opportunities along the way. So that is what the Teacher Creator Podcast is all about. If you're hiring someone to create content for your business, if you're creating content for your business, why not monetize the actual content itself so you have other income streams? That, by the way, is what I call income stacking, and we will definitely talk about that in a future episode. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and if you liked this, go ahead and follow or subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. Give it a like or engage in some way. I know that I'm on the right track, that I'm attracting people who actually want to hear this, and if you want to talk about anything I mentioned today, you can always send me a DM on Instagram over at Brittany Verlinich, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can just go ahead and comment right below because we reply to every comment. All right, talk soon.